Hey, what's up, guys? Dan from Game of Unknowns here. I'm a couple days late, but I guess I'm going to do a video real quick to talk about the Season 7, Episode 2 that we just had last Sunday. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of different dynamics there. So let's get to it right after this. Okay, so since that's out of the way, I'm going to go kind of mostly in order, and I'm sorry if I get distracted and go on a tangent, but hey, that's what we do. So, starting kind of close to the beginning, we started off in Dragonstone. There was a conversation there with Varys that ended in a way that it kind of had to end because he's been so important in the story that you couldn't really dispatch that character at this point in the series. The Red Woman shows back up, and after talking with the Dragon Queen, convinces her to send a letter to Jon Snow. Jon Snow, which we find out later in the episode, is now going to come down to Dragonstone from Winterfell. And I just want to point out that I do believe that Jon Snow did say that if he saw her again, he was going to kill her. Now, maybe it was up there in the north, or maybe just in general. So, I'm curious to see how that's going to turn out, having those two in the same place at the same time again in the coming couple of episodes. Speaking of Jon Snow, going into those Winterfell scenes, we see a few different things. We see some disagreement with him and his intention to go down there and respond to the letter, and maybe get a new ally against the real war, the war in the north, against all of the dead that are coming probably any episode now. Shortly after, you see him down there in the crypts, and Littlefinger's down there, and you see that scene, and it was it kind of took me by surprise, and I know I was pretty sure that that's what I saw in the trailer the week previous, but we see Jon Snow kind of grab up Littlefinger by the throat and make that threat not to touch his sister Sansa, when Littlefinger kind of let his intentions be known that it's, that he's in love with her. So now that we know that Jon Snow's going to leave for Dragonstone. We know that Littlefinger is going to still remain there, so I'm really curious as to whether Littlefinger will still exist, when he comes back. And we know that, we know Brandon Stark is traveling. So, these parakeets are awful. We know that Brandon Stark is probably trying to come home, and with that, Brandon Stark being able to see in, or possibly even fully time travel, I don't really get it. He may tell his sister that Littlefinger was responsible for their death, the death of Ned Stark. So, it's very possible that by the time Jon Snow gets back to Winterfell, if he gets back to Winterfell, Littlefinger's ride probably, it could end any time now. Moving forward from there, we can go ahead and go down to the Citadel, and I don't have a whole lot to say at this point. I'm not sure what direction that's all going to go. We saw before that Sam found the information he found. He sent the note to Jon about the dragon glass. They're still going on down this thing with Jorah Mormont, who's down there. He's in that prison, and seems that Sam has at this point attempted to heal him of grayscale. And whether or not that's going to work remains to be seen, but I do want to say, back before Daenerys left that other continent to the east, she did say that she was going to have to marry a Western Lord in order to really be recognized. And there's a couple of possibilities there, and this may be where The television series will separate from the book whenever that comes out. It may separate at this point. Um, I would guess that Daenerys may marry any of a couple of people. So we know now that she's truly related to Jon Snow, and we may see that they may get together. That is a thing that the Targaryens had done for, off and on for generations. So, incestuous or not, we may see them together. However, the other option might be for the TV people and for the sake of good TV. You may see that Jorah Mormont may in fact get healed of the grayscale and not turn into a stone man, and we may be seeing them get married just because it would make for good TV. I mean, he's tried to make out that he has been in love with her for all of these years, and so I think that that's a real possibility. Moving ahead, we see Arya Stark again, and she stops at I don't know if that's an inn or a pub or what it is, where she'd been there before, and she meets Hot Pie again. And at that meeting, she finds out that not only is her brother still alive, but has been named King of the North again, like her last brother. And so although she was headed to King's Landing to kill the Queen, it seems like she has turned around. She's gone north. It got cold very quickly. We saw a giant wolf there that she thought was Nymeria, and then she said it wasn't, but who knows, we may see that again. But so to see that she's headed there, and I believe Brandon Stark is headed there, so we're going to have a whole bunch of Starks in one place again, and who knows how any of that's going to pan out, but it's definitely culminating. Then we can fast forward to King's Landing, where Cersei, she has a bunch of these new allies, and she's trying to recruit new allies, which she's definitely going to need because she realizes she's surrounded by enemies on every side. So she comes up with some different, who knows what her plan is, but she goes down into the dungeons with Qyburn, and I was kind of disappointed in this. All he was in this whole time knowing of dragons. I mean, this man reanimated the mountain after he died, and all he came up with was this crossbow type device that shoots huge spears. And I really thought that he would have something cool or cooler than that. At first, I kind of thought maybe he would have some more of that wildfire rigged up to something, at least rig that up to the arrows, but then how effective is fire going to be against something that breathes fire, so who even knows? I was a bit disappointed with that. I'm hoping that they come up with some better kind of warfare than that, because I'm big on special effects, so we'll see what they come up with. After that, we see, I want to touch on that Grey Worm and Missandei love scene that happened. I'm not sure what all could have been capable there. They've never been quite clear on what type of anatomy is there. So interesting to see that they crossed that line and went that direction. And then and we come down to the conclusion. And the conclusion being, we see that some armies are moving around in the ocean, trying to get some of these pieces in place, and during that, Euron Greyjoy overtakes the ships that his niece and nephew are on, and they're moving the Sand Snakes back to Dorne to go collect the Dornish army, and to mobilize them into wherever they needed to go. So, to see that fight was it was pretty intense, and I didn't know how it was going to go, of course. But how it ended there with, I don't know if Theon realized, looking at his sister, that if he had made a move, she would have almost certainly died immediately. And so I'm not, who knows if if he jumped out into the ocean out of cowardice, or out of maybe trying to survive and save her another day. Who knows? But they left us cut off there, so I'm going to do some other videos later in the week and kind of go into some of these subjects a little bit more in depth. You might have noticed that I haven't mentioned, and I think it was the episode prior, but I didn't mention anything about the Hound and his newly acquired ability to see in the fire. Very interesting. But I'm gonna do a separate video about that here in a couple of days before the next episode, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in depth. So definitely drop some comments down there. I'll respond, and somewhere down here you'll see the subscribe button. Go ahead and click that, and let's get a dialogue started. Have a good one.